So we're the Extensionists. We do a podcast about agriculture extension. I'm Whetter.
I'm Toban.
And I grew up in this part of the country. I went to high school, or all my school at Delray. So
We live in Manitoba.
way out east. Well, welcome to
Way out east. Yes, that's how we were identified. East. I'm not remote, yeah. Steinbeck is Jan Seer from Bitsy, that people turn their stuff.
You've been to Ag Days before?
I had been to Ag Days before, yeah. It is always an event getting here. And if every one of you know, like, it's always stormy during Ag Days. There's so many stories of getting here. It's staff from Manitoba Pulses, soybean growers, and coming in and managing their booth, and like having to drive with my hazards on for 2.5 hours to get here, and then driving back. And I was telling Jay, I was gonna say it's almost a little bit like triggering to come to PTSD a bit with all the driving and the storms, but I also want to be sensitive to.
Like, so you're something that's so different from nothing that I get to say my parents does.
Yeah.
And we drink tea and watch triggers instead of these big red chairs and ball stick that keep working.
That sounds wonderful. It
is wonderful.
Yeah.
But I like Ag Days. Obviously, it's in my comfort zone here because I feel like I'm with my people.
Yeah.
And there's lots of relatives who pop by and say hi, and half the people I know someone and are related to our Extensionists.
So before we get into that, I don't think anybody here knows who you are, Jay. So why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Whetter. I'm from Delray, Manitoba. I'm our dad, actually, if people know where dad is, and I think some people in this room probably do. There we go. That's the first time I've ever had a clap, I think. I noticed the Ag Days crowd is a little bit quiet this year. There's not a lot of Q&A, so it's great to get some feedback from the audience. Thank you. Tell me, Toban.
I'm Toban Dyck. I'm a farmer from southern Manitoba, the Winkler area. I think there's a few of us represented here, but long time communicator. Worked in the ag space for a long time with various commodity groups, and now do a podcast for one of my own communications company, BurrForest Group, which produces this podcast, which Jay introduced earlier. I don't know if Mike was on, but the podcast is really focused around kind of taking complex ideas and the people behind these complex ideas and sharing them with you. So the tagline is conversations with great thinkers in agriculture, and the idea is how we can all extend important information better. And so that's our.
And when you asked me about me, you wanted me to describe not what I did on a daily basis.
So
I just did my war on propaganda, which I'm obviously quite proud of. So I work for the Criminal Council of Canada. That's my primary job. And Toban and I are working on a few different projects, including some training. And then I just started a job with, I guess it's kind of a job, but I'm shadowing a class at the University of Manitoba School of Agriculture with second-year students there, and they're all coming tomorrow, weather permitting, to hang out at Ag Days, so I'll be with them. We should get on.
That's absolutely
all right. So we're going to introduce our guest, Des Daniels. And Des, make a familiar face for a lot of you who used to watch A Great Taste in Manitoba. And Des actually grew up on a farm near Whetter, Saskatchewan. So we're going to talk about agriculture. We're going to talk about Great Taste in Manitoba. We're not going to talk about food, and also empathy, which is a kick that I want with regard to connecting with people before you try to talk to them about agriculture extension and agronomy. Des, come on up.
Nice. Thank you. Never used to that. No, I don't think so. So how are you? How are things? How are we?
We're doing well.
Now that the mics are working?
Yeah. How was your drive out?
So maybe not PTSD territory, but yeah, it's been that kind of a winter. I'm sure lots of folks have experienced this. It's like any major event or activity that I've had to do in the last 3 months has involved white knuckling for at least 50 kilometers, including a wedding I was officiating a couple of, just before Christmas. But first 30K was a bit rough, but it was smooth sailing after that. So yeah, happy to be here. It's been a bit since I've been in Brandon.
Are most dependent people like
So my parents over Whetter in Arizona.
Nice.
Some of our friends are here. And so I use the term that I take his truck to the Ag Days.
Oh, sweet.
I think it's the way we've shifted into the ag industry while he's in Arizona. So he's like, you should really just take my truck. And so I took my truck. That's why I offered to pick you up and drive you.
Which I appreciated.
It would be a massive truck.
Yeah.
So I had a little Tacoma.
And about 6 kilometers into my drive, I was thinking about that offer and feeling a little bit foolish that perhaps I hadn't taken it. But we're here. We're here. Yeah. So.
Can we call me back? I do this after.
Yes, no, you go ahead. No.
Bill does this as well, that'd be wonderful, yes, but I can read his mind. I'm not actually very good at reading people's minds. So just, it's better just to tell me what you want me to do. Are we ready for it?
We are ready. Let's do it.
Yes.
You're never ready for Ituna. Let me just start by saying that. Okay, no. What would you like to know about Ituna?
Yeah, well, exactly. What makes it scary?
Well, I don't know what makes it scary. I mean, I think what makes Ituna wonderful is what makes every small town I'll say Manitoba and Saskatchewan special, which is the people, right? They've changed a lot since I was growing up. When I grew up, it was primarily a Ukrainian Catholic farming community, and it is still very much a farming community, and certainly some Catholics are there and a lot of Ukrainians, but there's a lot of other folks that have come from other places. It's a very affordable place to buy a house, a really nice house, actually, no, I mean, it was a cool way to grow up. I didn't think that way at the time. And I'm not even talking about Ituna, I'm talking about just being a farm kid, right? And I'll be very frank and very honest. After milking cows morning and night, from the time I was about 6 until we sold them when I was about 17, it was like, what else is out there, please? And was quite happy to, take my leave. And now it's truly, I would never trade that for anything, like nothing, because I recognize it for what it is now, which is something very, I mean, it's humble, but it's also, super real and it's super beautiful. And I will never work, I've said this so many times, I will never work as hard as an adult as I did when I was a kid. And I'm not even kidding, that's not hyperbole in any sense. It's really just the way it was. It was hustle all the time,
Wow. What was your favorite thing about the farm?
Favorite thing about the farm? Springtime and going to milk the cows with my rubber boots and it's sort of that in between winter and spring. It's like the little bit of ice that's on top of the, I haven't thought about this for a while, but it's where you can tap on it and it's ooh, it kind of makes that sound. And actually I was super fortunate because it was a 3rd generation farm. And so my great grandparents lived on that yard. And my grandparents were also there when I grew up, and so spent a lot of time at my Baba and Dito's house as well. They were just right down the hill, right past the barn and to Grandma and Grandpa's. It was just the best way to grow up.
The rubber boots in spring just created an amazing visual for me, because when I think of the best times, it was also that spring melt when the days are getting warmer and sunnier, and you put your rubber boots on and you're walking down in the ditches where all the water's running. And we lived on a farm that had quite a few hills, so there was always water running somewhere.
There's always places to go stomp around and make a mess, and it was the best.
It was.
I want to do it right now. I'm going to do it this spring. I'm going to go back to the farm, and because my parents are still there. So
right on. Well, Toban grew up in the flattest place in the world. Was there any running water at all in Winkler?
So my memory is in spring, we had cattle, no dairy cattle. And I'd come home from school and I would have to chore. So I'd have to wear, in spring especially, hip waders essentially, and carrying chop pails like this, sludging through, and then filling, spreading it in the troughs. And the cows, of course, are, distant except when you have chop pails. And they just gather around you and they're right beside you. And there were so many times I would just get so flipping mad at those things because they would just bring these 1,000-pound animals would just
come at you, right?
So it's a good memory, but it's a little fraught.
It's a bit, then how old would you have been when that was going on?
Oh, 12, 13.
See, that's the thing, you get started early when you're a farm kid, and again, at the time, it just really didn't have much appreciation for it, but it's kind of a special thing, Yeah. It's a really special thing. You share that anecdote, and really, I think agriculture people, farm people would be like, I get that,
Yes,
we all have a story involving like that with hip waders or some, kind of animal thing. Yeah. So
when did you decide that you're milking the cows? Am I doing that right?
Stop.
I'm not
Sort of. You're about 50% there.
There's milk all over the place.
It's been a minute, but I think it's like riding a bike. I'm not sure. But
I never really milked cows, as you can tell, obviously. When did you decide that you wanted to become an actress? Actor? What do you call it? Not actress.
I think
actor?
either's fine. I think they're interchangeable. Well, and like to be fair, I did not become one, but
But you wanted to be one.
I did.
When you were milking those cows,
I did.
I got to
that's
get out of
true.
here and get to Hollywood.
Yeah, there was definitely for sure some dovetailing going on there. You know what? I always thought drama was kind of fun and cool, and then I ended up because I didn't have a ride to my practices, so I auditioned sort of on the sly, and then my teacher was like really cool, and he let me rehearse at lunchtime, so I didn't tell my parents until like 2 weeks before the dinner theater that this was happening. So, and then I ended up winning a really kind of a cool provincial award, which was kind of a big surprise, and I thought, oh well, for sure, now I can do this for a living. But didn't happen, and I ended up in radio instead, which was obviously a really fun and nice sort of second thing to do.
But you have a face for TV or acting, and you're stuck behind radio.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But you got the TV.
I
got
ended
to
up,
TV
I
eventually.
was super lucky and got a chance to do that as well. So Great Taste, that was kind of came out of absolutely nowhere, and it was super fun.
I guess we should jump to Great Taste. We've only got an hour, and Abby keeps reminding me that we only
Abby's
have an
our
hour.
producer. Yeah.
She's standing there with the
Actually, I can't even see
We
the
love
timer.
Abby.
Does anybody see the timer?
No.
Okay.
There's a timer.
Well, there we go. We're safe then. There's no limit.
All
All right,
here we
Great
go.
Taste. Oh, so your radio days to Great Taste. Was there what significant things happened in that interim?
Sort of like the overlap.
Well,
they really.
Anything notable that we should be talking about in your life, the life of Des?
Oh boy, life of Des. Well, there's probably a lot of things that I maybe wouldn't care to talk about. There was some rough stuff. I had a hip replacement.
Is that where your angel wings got all tarnished?
That's probably something like that.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
so you're talking about
well,
like
this is you were telling me about your angel wings earlier.
Anyway, that's a whole other aside. So the question is, was there like overlap between the radio and the TV thing, or was that kind of what you were going for?
Yeah, or maybe just kind of walk us through that trajectory of like getting into radio and then that move to TV.
Sure. Yeah. So I was doing radio for many years, a number of different stations in Winnipeg, and I'd also done some voiceover work as well, so commercial work. And so the company that produces Great Taste, called Frank Digital, they were looking for a host, and because I knew the folks from the voiceover work, they said, would you be interested in auditioning? And they never had a female host, and they were a little bit reticent about that because most of the commodity experts are women, and so they thought, well, maybe this is just too much estrogen, I'm not sure. Mind you, I come from the days in radio when we weren't allowed to play two female artists back to back. So that was a thing at one time. Can never have, too much female, but anyways, auditioned and was successful at it, and so that was like, okay, here we are doing TV now, and so it really did, it was just kind of an opportunity that presented itself, and I was just so excited and just, okay, here we go, something new, and it was just fabulous. It was like 9 seasons that I was involved in. It was just great fun, great fun, and learned a ton as well.
Let's review what Great Taste is. So what was it all about?
Sure. So Great Taste of Manitoba, I think it was on CTV for 35 years. It was a very long-running show, and basically it highlights Manitoba commodities, products, and in more recent years also really highlighted farm families, farming communities, and sort of put that more personal touch on it as well. And the show is it's still being produced. It's it's online now.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're just really celebrating all things Manitoba and the various incredible products that are produced here. Yeah.
Were you involved in Great Taste at all? Did you work with
Did
them?
you do
like with Manitoba Pulse Growers,
right.
Pulse and soybean?
Were you on?
We definitely.
You were on the show at one point?
No, I was never on the show, but I was part of like the planning sessions and stuff like that. We would talk about recipes, and we had a chef, Gord Bailey.
Okay.
We got him to come and do some Pulse recipes. But yeah, we were I was a part of it. And if there's anybody from the commodity groups here, it is a very much
Yeah.
a part of that fabric for
Yeah.
sure of Manitoba.
Well, and so much of the show, I mean, it's like 95% of it is what happens behind the scenes, right? And
Yeah.
they work so hard, the commodity experts work so hard to create these recipes and really highlight the product in the best way that they can. And so really it was fun to help facilitate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
And like part of the purpose of the Extensionist podcast is to talk about tools of extension. And we actually haven't talked much about TV or even radio as ways to get messages out to farmers, or in this case it was a city audience for the most part.
Well, it was carried on the rural network, and I think it actually still is.
Okay.
So when I said CTV, so there were actually there's
So
actually
it wasn't just Winnipeg target audience? It was, broader. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fairly broad audience actually. It surprised me the folks that would come up and say, "Oh, I watched the show with my mom and my grandma the other day." I'd be like, "Oh, and
Yeah.
it was available for consumption beyond Winnipeg for sure. Yeah.
But how did it? So you said you did get some feedback every once in a while, but like what would be the motivator to use TV, say, instead of just like a magazine ad or a magazine article? Like what was TV offering in this case that other mediums wouldn't?
It's just visual. It's the ability to showcase in a visual way not only the food and the sort of what you ended up with after you finished that recipe, but the process itself, which people just love cooking shows,
They do.
They're so fun to watch when they're produced well, and I have to say that Frank Digital does an amazing job. They're absolute pros there. The audio was always good. The video, the quality of the show was really something that I was always so proud to be a part of, and it just looks great. And so they do these things called beauty shots. So the cooking portion of it was, that was a part of it. But then we'd have to leave the set, and then they would be spritzing food with water, and they would be setting it up.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like it was like a huge part of it,
Oh,
and
that's funny.
it's an art form. And
Yeah.
so it looked incredible. It looks great. Like if you watch it on YouTube now, we're on greattastesmb.ca, I think is the site. You'll see the video is amazing if you haven't had a chance to see it.
GreatTastesMB.ca.
GreatTastesMB.ca, unless they've changed it since I've been involved, but I don't
right
think
on.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
YouTube, Great Taste of Manitoba on YouTube.
Yes,
Well,
that's right.
YouTube is
That's
an
what they were-
amazing way to show how you said, like, visual, how to do
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so whether it's on like network TV or on YouTube, it's the same principle. Is that
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah,
creating a
absolutely.
visual.
However you choose to consume that video and wherever it's available. Yeah.
In our notes, I think when Ashley interviewed you initially, she has here being on TV was a little bit performative. I think is how you had put it.
Sure.
When you say that, what does that mean? Because performative. Yeah, if you met what I think you did, then I want to kind of riff on that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a little bit like this. Okay, so we're sitting here, and we all changed our shoes before because I tromped in here in my winter boots, and y'all had nice shoes on. I don't know, like then they got even nicer. I was like, holy smokes! And you got some really cool socks. Is that you on those
That's
socks?
my face, and this is Jay's face.
Oh my lord!
I have red ears.
Where do
like
I
an
purchase
elf.
those? That's unreal.
Abby got them for us for Christmas, so our
You're
producer-
brilliant. You're like the coolest person I've met recently. No offense. So with TV, obviously it's a visual medium, and so there's a certain way in which you have to carry yourself. It's like there's another dynamic or another sort of element to that presentation. Whereas in radio,
Sure.
if this was purely your podcast, which normally you record this on your farm, correct?
Yeah.
We'd be sitting there with our feet up and whatever,
Sure.
wearing our dirty t-shirts. Not that we would do that, but we could if we wanted to. So
Yes.
that's sort of there's like this other energy that exists with TV that's purely visual, right? And so. I would say that's kind of that's sort of the main, that was the question, right?
It
Or
was.
did you
Yep.
sort of like
It
kind
was.
of, did I swerve around that wildly?
And how much?
Did you? Sorry, Jay, one sec. Did you like that? Like the performative nature of that form of communications? Was that a?
Yeah, it's fun. You know, it's
Okay.
really fun. I would be absolutely exhausted when I was done.
Sure.
Very different than
Yeah.
radio, although that's tiring as well. But there's just a different, you know, you got to kind of take it up just one more kind of notch. And so
Yeah.
it was great fun and very spontaneous in a lot of ways. But you really kind of have to be on your game, right? So, and those things, like those episodes that we would film, once we started cooking, there was no turning back because you only have so many ingredients and there's only so much time, and we would shoot sometimes 4 episodes in a day. So it would be like
geez.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah, right.
So once
Yeah.
you're going, you're going. So it's like, okay, you're just firing on all cylinders, or hoping you are.
Did you have any scenario where you had to, like, you totally burnt the pork chops and like, and you're like, okay, now what do we? How do we do a Manitoba pork promo? And
Yeah. No, they're just amazing in post production. Like they have all kinds of ways. But I think it was actually Susan at Manitoba Pork where somehow I think it was a new like cooktop, and so something got turned up a bit on the high side, or it was on, and then they were doing some other things, and we got a little bit late starting the segment, and then she put something in the pan, and it just like not incinerated.
Did they
But there
put
was some
that on
flame.
the-
There was a
Yeah.
little flame going on.
Nice.
So yeah, you know, but for the most part, it was all very well managed, and they had that down to a science after that many years of doing it.
did
so.
that make the final edit? That little fire?
I don't think
scene?
so. No,
Okay.
I think they took that out because ideally, you know, we want to encourage people not to set their kitchens on fire.
What was the worst thing that
Here's
ever
how not to do it. Okay.
well, there's a tip. There's a public service announcement embedded in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
could have probably used that. Yeah.
What's the worst thing that ever happened when you were doing it?
The worst thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that might actually be it. Like you're talking about like the live segment.
Well, just like some fun little behind the scenes thing that
Oh,
nobody else would have seen.
I don't know. Well, Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries used to sponsor it. I don't know how far we should go down that rabbit hole. Maybe I'll just leave it at that.
Sure,
Just
sure.
take the 30,000
Yeah,
foot
there
view
we
on
go.
that
We can
one.
imagine.
I like it.
And yeah.
Fill in
So
the blanks.
any tips for any, like if there's an organization out there thinking about, you know, little snippets of video or even TV, like things that editing wise or just performance wise that makes a difference between something that's effective as a communication tool or less so?
Well, the editing part I can't speak to because I never really did. I wasn't involved in that part of it. You know, as far as you know, any kind of interviewing or any time that you're engaging with folks, I would say the most important thing is always to bring curiosity to it, and that's kind of a cliche sort of comment, I guess, but I mean genuinely curious. You know, like be curious about yourself, but also clearly about what the other person is there to talk about or to promote. And you know, I think we're all, just generally speaking, we're all starving to be listened to. And, you know, I think that applies regardless of whether it's just a one-on-one conversation in what I'll refer to as real life, or if you're having a conversation, you know, for media purposes or for video or whatever it happens to be. Because I don't think that you can fake genuine. I think you can to a certain extent, but it really helps root everything if you as the interviewer, because that's really you know, that generally I'm sitting over there. P.S. I'd much rather be over there than over here. I'll tell you right now. But if you bring a natural curiosity to it, I think that always shines through, and I think that that's true of any conversation that you have, you know, with anybody. You know, because, and I catch myself doing it too, where thinking about what I'm going to say, you know, even before people are finishing. And that's something that, you know, takes a little bit of practice to sort of bring yourself back from. So curiosity is hugely important.
Yeah.
One thing I want to pick up on also in the notes is it talks about you write every day. Like
I do.
So this is interesting. So I want to talk about this because it says you write for an hour every day.
I do.
Right? So years ago, like many, many moons, decades ago, when I decided I wanted to be a writer, and that was my entry into ag communications, was in writing, I did the same thing. I said I would sit down and I would write for 1 hour every day.
Really?
I did that for many, many, many years, probably 10.
Okay.
if not more.
Like
And
starting from the time you were...
it would have been early university days, like 20-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was this Morning Pages from Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way?
Oh, it might
Just
have been.
curious?
It might have been.
That's
'cause
where I learned about
it. Was
it,
from a
but-
book. It was from a
Okay,
book, and I
okay.
remember I was just going to decide. I was just going to do it. I was going to become a better writer.
Yeah.
And I still come back to that every once in a while, like to kind of reintroduce that routine. And I know Jay hears me talk about this all the time, how important those routines are, and how important, we think of communications. And I think a lot of people might not be able to identify with communications necessarily, but a lot of people in this audience maybe are dealing with farm transitions, and communications is so important between the exiting generation and the upcoming one.
It's kind of everything.
These are things, and how important it is to practice that. So, yeah, that right away resonated with me. I'm like, it's very interesting, as I haven't heard of anyone else who actually does the 1 hour thing.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so you still do it.
I do, yeah, and there's kind of different reasons. I would say the predominant reason is it just helps me kind of, I sort of like, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I know that this is true of other folks, and there's kind of some science behind it. I don't know what it is, but I think your cortisol rises in the morning when you wake up. And so I sometimes feel like a little bit of low-grade anxiety when I wake up in the morning. I don't know where that comes from. It's always kind of been like that. And so I find that if I can just sit down and dump it all out, it's very, very cathartic, and it just calms me down. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just take everything that's buzzing around in here, and I'm gonna just put it on the page.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the main, and it's very, I have my coffee, and it's quiet, and my son's not up yet, and so, it's just a really grounding way to start my day. The work that I do professionally now, for the most part, is as a social worker, and so it's very, very, very important for me to have ways to ground myself and to enter into my day and feeling calm,
Yeah.
So that's a large part of why I do it. And the other part is that, I've written, poetry mostly, since I was milking cows when I was 6. So I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit, and I want to do more of it. I'm sort of in a transitional phase in my life, and I've decided that that's something that I want to try and do a little bit more of and see what happens.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And very, very cool.
For both of you, it's like what were you writing about? So you talked about just kind of what was in your head at that time, but would you write about things that you could then use? Like, you know what, this is in my head. I'm writing all this down. And this is what creates some sort of tension for me. Maybe I should go and deal with that today. Like, was it ever like an action?
Sometimes, for me,
Yeah.
it is. Sometimes organically. Like, I don't really have an intention for it. It's just like, blah, just whatever comes out. And so sometimes there's, maybe 3 pages. Like, there's the hour, some of that's the creative work, but the sort of the mental dump, that's 3 pages. And by the 3rd page, I find that if there's something that I'm seeking resolution for, there'll be some kind of insight. It's kind of magic. Like, if you're trying to noodle through a problem, 3 pages, that's what they talk about. Yeah. And it really is kind of shocking. By the end, literally, by like the middle towards the bottom 2/3 of that last page, it's like, it's really bizarre. So that kind of, sometimes there's like, okay, I can do that. Or, I can think about this in a different way or feel differently about it.
Do you think companies or organizations could use that as an exercise before a meeting or something?
Wow,
or the night
why
before,
not?
Yeah, like so write down everything you want to accomplish with this board this year. And
Make
then,
everybody write 3 pages before you start the
Well,
meeting.
yeah, I'm just like-
it's an option.
like,
right?
I'm just thinking of any sort of tool to get the creative juices going or communicate in different ways. And I've never even thought of that until you just mentioned it, as maybe there's something to that in terms of like clarifying
Indeed.
what's going on inside a head,
yeah.
and then how to share that with the public.
They talk about it as a good exercise for people who, we're all creatives, right? But for people who are sort of really channeling that. But why not? It's another way to, take what's in here, because sometimes it's we go over and over and over, and we kind of ruminate and things. And so sometimes if you take it out of here and put it, where you actually can see the words, sometimes it can create a shift. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toban, what did you use? Was it just to practice writing?
Well, I think for sure that. So I wanted to become, this is, early days, I wanted to become a journalist. I wanted to get into that world. So it was a matter of honing a skill. But then I found there was a direct relationship between how much I wrote, how good I was, or not good I was, that sounds terrible, but, and
I don't think it sounds terrible.
Thank you.
Sure, you're a great writer.
Clear writing and clear thinking. So
Yeah.
even to this day, like if I go back to writing now, and I haven't written in a while, it'll take a bit to kind of shed that rust. But as soon as you do, and as soon as it starts to flow a bit, and as soon as, for anyone interested, it's really interesting. Like if you do it a lot, there's that direct one-to-one line between what you write and how you think. And that's a really kind of cool place to be. You feel like you can communicate kind of crisply and as clearly as you can as a person, if you can get to that stage. And I'm sure you can kind of
Finding your voice too, I suppose.
yeah, and it's an interesting process. And like I've talked about before, like that whole idea of practicing. Like we talk about communications, we talked about effective communications. There's nothing that can replace actually doing it and trying it and continuing to do it. And
Yeah, well, and that's like the other part of that, though, is that some people just are not, like, that would be hell for some folks,
Sure.
and it might not be very useful. But it's an opportunity to, to try and find a way to, as you say, refine whatever it is that you want to say,
Yeah.
and in the
Yeah.
context of connecting, as far as like the sort of the your podcast and what it talks about. Yeah, it would be an interesting experiment to do. All right, everyone.
yeah,
So everyone breaks into a cold sweat. It's hard to try new things. I mean, let's
It
be
is hard to
real.
try
I
new
hate
things.
it. I
Yeah.
hate it most of the time. Oh, and then I'm having fun. So,
Yeah, cold sweat. Yeah, it's just what you want when you're
Right?
running a board, is to
Yeah.
have them all like, oh God, here's Jay again with his harebrained ideas.
Or they'll lower me, or you know what? People might fall in love with it too. So.
yeah.
At some point, we need to talk about empathy, but I wanted to talk about drumming, which is totally like a left turn. I don't know, but we were talking about this by that Amazon sprayer. We were like in the Manitoba room. We were kind of got into our little circle, and we were gonna sort of miming some drumming, but. I don't know. I like thinking of harebrained ways to start a meeting. I was at a Canola Council convention. This is before I actually worked for the Canola Council. I was covering it as a reporter for Country Guide. And it was in Victoria.
Country Guide?
Country Guide, yeah.
That magazine?
The
It was a
magazine.
magazine.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
right
yeah.
by the
Funny.
Western Producer.
Yeah.
My dad's.
It was right beside. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're together now, apparently.
Okay.
But that's for another time.
Another time.
But so we all of these Canola Council, the attendees at this conference, anyone who wanted to drum could get up in a big circle. There's probably 30 of us in a circle, including who was at the time the president of Cargill Canada. And
Wow.
we all sat down with these drums, and I loved it. And I don't think I've done it since, but it was so fun. But
Drums, the great leveler.
the drums. And I mean, let's start a meeting with, okay, we got to write 3 pages, and then now we're going to sit in a circle, and we're going
I'm
to start
coming to
our.
that meeting.
we're
That
just like
that
all
sounds
these-
like my
we're
kind
gonna
of
start our
talk jam
drumming.
right
All the
there.
new techniques, we're just going to unveil them
I'm
here.
in.
Everybody's going to do them.
Where do I sign?
No
Yeah.
AI required.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
But anyway, so there actually is probably some sort of question embedded in there somewhere. But so what is?
You want to know about the drumming?
Yeah, I wanna
'cause
know
I
what-
mentioned it in the
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the story. I've been a dashboard drummer my whole life. Very pathetic. But I love it. And then when I was doing the Q94 morning show with Bo and Tom, Bo's son Eric was in a high school band, and he was a drummer for about 5 minutes, and then he hated it. So then Bo was looking to recoup his loss on the drum kit, and so he said, "Do you want to buy it?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So I bought it, and I took it home, and I moved it like between the 6 houses that I lived in over the course of about 15 years, until finally I was like, "This is ridiculous. I'm selling these drums, because why?" And then fast forward a couple of years. So my son is now, he was off living on his own for a bit. Now he's back with me, which has been wonderful. And he is actually a drummer. Like he's learning, he's taking lessons, and that's sort of his aspiration. And so just sort of like in the last couple of years, had an opportunity to join the University of Manitoba Drum Circle. Like there's the student affairs group that I work with. That we have it's like an outreach thing for students, and staff can join in as well. And it's just been so much fun. because sometimes thinkers, communicators, like it's really hard to shut this off. Like that's what I find so often. And with drumming, it's like you can literally just shut that off and it feels wonderful. It's like running or something. It's very physical, obviously. It's primal. And so I've enjoyed that very much. And actually, I'm starting drum lessons on Monday.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
With my
You want
son's
to give us a
teacher.
little sample on your knee?
Well, it was funny because when your theme music was on, I was like, oh yeah, it's like, you know. So no, maybe next year or it's at some year.
That'll be
hence,
Ag Days
Yeah, I'll bring my
2027.
kid.
Yeah,
We'll
there we
rock
go.
out. Yeah, but so I don't know. Does that answer the question that you almost asked? I'm not.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking for an anecdote.
Okay. All right. Check.
Yeah, that's like, I know.
Ba-dum-bum.
There you go. Some drumming finally.
So you wanted to talk about empathy.
Yeah.
We have 14 minutes
Oh, we have
left.
a timer. Good.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Yeah, there
So
it
does that
is.
mean 8 minutes to talk about empathy, then 5 minutes to close?
Yeah, you just got to get into
Okay,
it.
right on. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, you can blow
So
through
I
empathy
want
in
to-
like
I
5
want-
minutes.
Oh,
no
yeah,
problem.
So anyway, I never really thought about how important it is to. I mean, it seems obvious. You want to connect with a person before you deliver anything, really. Extension is about extending knowledge, right? So it's a new farm practice, some new research, some new technology, new technique. And in extension, traditionally, a farmer might come with a problem, and then you say, oh, try this, try this, try this. And I've been doing this journalism thing for a long time, and I'll write an article about how to do a practice. But I think it's this face-to-face where but then you get to, you can try to make a connection with the person, and then see if whatever idea you have actually might work. And we've had two guests on the Extensionists that are really memorable for me in terms of kind of thinking through how that might work. And Tracy Herbert, who works for the beef, I can't remember exactly, it's a beef research council out of the prairies, and Tracy lives in Saskatchewan. And she said like the key number one step in extension is empathy. And it was the first,
Okay.
and this isn't a new thing for anyone involved in extension, but it was the first time I'd heard it put so succinctly.
Right, yeah, framed that way.
So I thought, wow, okay, yes. So we need to connect and then offer. And then the other person we had on this, and I'm kind of rambling a bit here, Toban, I'm sorry, but Jolanda Jensen from the Netherlands.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, wasn't that
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
And so Jolanda was talking about, just how to have that conversation about a practice, a new practice, or any sort of behavior change, and just kind of outlined those empathy steps. So I want to know for you, like, me and my 3-minute ramble here, like, what did that make you think of? Like, with someone trying to get something across to someone, or make, like, how do you start making that connection?
Mm-hmm. Well, the work that I do now at the university, I work at the Sexual Violence Resource Center, and so we support folks who have been impacted by sexualized violence, and that can look a lot of different ways, gender-based violence. And so just through that lens, and my role there as a case manager is I'm often there to impart information and to support people who are looking to engage certain academic processes, so whether that's having grades removed from their transcript or whatever. But before any of that can happen, and I'll even maybe take it a step back yet. So there's empathy, but even before that, so I listened to one of your other podcasts with, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. It was about mental health.
Oh, Jerry Friesen.
Yes.
Yes.
And so talking about, what do I do if somebody is struggling, or if I suspect somebody is struggling with, depression or anxiety, these kinds of things. And I was listening to the podcast and I was cleaning and I was like, you just have to listen, like you just have to sit. And so you did talk about that and talked, kind of about that. So it's really, as far as, I'm concerned, it's the energy that you bring. And people are sometimes really stressed about how do I help? What do I do? And of course, as humans, we want to. If we're helpers, we want to help our friends. We want to help, folks. But really, it's sometimes the best thing that you can do is help someone co-regulate just by showing up, and it's like we've referred to it as holding space. And so I'm really here with you right now, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. And to me, that's sort of the seed that empathy blooms from, right? It's like, because we're always so concerned about how do we fix, how do we do, how do we share? And that comes, like there's often opportunities for that to come. But it just, it's really just about, like, I'm here with you right now, and no matter what happens, like, I'm with you, right? And so that's not exactly what you were talking about, but it's just like, the thing that I really took away from that was when listening to that podcast is just like, his pure desire to be helpful, and further to that, just sometimes doing nothing is the best thing that you can do,
right.
And it sounds like it makes me so angry sometimes, like but it's really, that's really the thing. It's just take that step back and just like, I'm here. I give you all of me right now, just the energy, and we co-regulate as human beings. If you're sitting with someone and you're genuinely calm and you're genuinely there, there's a co-regulation that happens automatically. It's quite astonishing, actually. There's all kinds of research on that.
I think it's interesting, especially for like a farming audience, and back to this transition planning. Like, so a lot of people will be in the throes of some form of it, where there's 2 generations working on a farm, and like that listening, that empathy thing is such a big part, and I see it time and time again. It's a huge challenge for a lot of farming operations, where one of the generations or one of the people involved is unable to have space for another person in their operation, right? And it's, it can be very top down. It can be very, there's all these hierarchies, but there's none of, like, in some cases, there's no this co-regulating. And I think that's a really important thing for anybody here who hasn't thought about empathy or tried to kind of really bring it to their own operations or lives. It's a real thing.
It's a worthy goal, I think, and with succession planning and things like that, like the other complexity there is that there's so much about identity that's connected to that, right? And so there's that sense of I want to protect my side as well, or how I see it, or how we've done it. And so it's a worthy goal, regardless of the enterprise, I think, whether it's interpersonal or work, or with our colleagues or our neighbors or whomever. I'm here for you. I'm listening to you right now.
How do you start that conversation? Do you wait for the conversation to come to you, or are there scenarios where you really feel like that there's a conversation that needs to happen and then you have to initiate?
Like within a work context, or because it varies, right?
Well, we talked about, succession planning is work because the farms are workplaces, but
yeah.
Maybe any scenario.
I mean, that's a tough one, right? Like succession planning. Without going into a lot of detail, I mean, that's something that my own family is engaged in right now, and it's very complex, As for how you sort through that, that's a great question. I don't have an answer to that particularly. If the answer is, or if the question is more about how, are you asking? Do we bring something up?
No, I'm not asking how to start a succession planning conversation. I'm just, no, don't worry.
Please, no.
Here's some paperwork.
No, Jay.
What do we do, Des?
Don't do that to me.
If you think a tough conversation needs to happen, like, how do you enter in a way that just kind of recognizes? We're not going to solve all these problems right now, but I'm just like, what's a safe entry point where people aren't going to get up and leave? Well,
you can't really control what the other person is going to do, right? I mean, the thing that I try to do is be present, like fully present within myself first. So I do a lot of grounding stuff. I meditate a lot, and meditation, that sounds very lofty, but sometimes meditation is literally just taking a conscious breath in, holding for a moment, releasing, and just being in the body for a moment, because again, our brains are so busy, and we can orient ourselves to our bodies. That's a great starting point. And then also, again, just to be curious, you know how you feel about things most often, but what does that person, what are they really thinking? Sometimes we make assumptions about what people want and what they're thinking and how they're feeling. But are they really thinking, feeling that, and so being curious and just, and there's always, I think sometimes depending on that conversation too, there's a defensiveness or there's the desire to you know, I want to impart to you that this is the way to do things.
Yeah.
But is it really, you know?
Yeah.
And ultimately, you can't control how other people are going to respond. That's, you know, like that's really the tough thing in life generally, is like, wish we could control everybody's reactions to things. Please do what I want, everyone, all the
Yeah.
time, you know.
I mean, I just, it's the thing about advice is that people don't necessarily want advice unless they ask for it. And maybe it's the same about imparting wisdom. Like, is there a time and place for imparting wisdom? Or you just wait for an opening, or when you're asked a specific thing about that? Is that the best strategy? Even, like, I'm just thinking of family dynamics even. But, like, when do you impart wisdom and when do you just wait?
I think that if there's been some rapport that's been established and everybody is kind of in a place of calm, sometimes you can test the waters a little bit on that, but you're never 100% sure how that's going to land. I feel like, you know, there's like this, like there's got to be a way to do it that is not going to ruffle feathers, and I don't know that that's necessarily always possible, but I think a starting point is, are either of us activated, you know, in whatever way? And the more communicating you do, the better you become at figuring out when people are somebody kind of PO'd, or, you know, that's not the time to be introducing anything. But so just, I think if everybody's calm, it's that's a good place to start.
And so if you're ever activated, do you pause and let's do this again another time, or do you just work
with
through
clients?
the activation?
No, with you know, but certainly in personal conversations, absolutely. You know, walk away from a conversation. And sometimes that's the most respectful thing to do. I think it's a show of it's being respectful to myself and to the other person as well. I can't bring my best self to this right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I like that.
it sounds a bit silly, but it's true.
No, for
Sometimes
sure.
you got to take a step back.
Yeah.
A big step back. Huge.
We are running out of time.
Okay.
We are. How did that happen? Whoa.
I would like,
fun.
would you be able to conjure like your favorite pulse recipe from your time with Great Taste right now?
Oh, favorite pulse recipe. I know I have some, because I did actually print a lot of those recipes just overall. Favorite one? That's a tough one.
Okay, that's
Put
fair.
me on the spot
That's
here.
fair. That's fair.
Do you have a favorite pulse recipe?
Oh, geez. I
Do you
wasn't
have
the
a
host.
I have
favorite
one.
pulse?
I'll share one. How much time do we have?
We have
I
no
actually,
time.
so I want. Did you actually want me to answer that? Maybe?
Actually, okay, there was a
You-
barley
you
salad we
answer.
did, a couple of, which I think was under the Pulse umbrella. Yes, and it was, it's delicious. It's absolutely spectacular. I'll text it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
then we can
it's
share it.
really,
Okay.
really good.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
You don't want my recipe?
No, I don't want your recipe.
I wouldn't mind your
I'll
recipe. You
share
can
it
text
later.
me your recipe
Yeah.
later, and I'll text.
Communicate.
I'll text Toban mine. You text me
Yeah,
yours.
that's
We're
right.
good.
I think we've got to do our closing now
Okay.
quickly.
I think
So-
you're getting activated. It's probably time
Yeah,
to
that's-
wind
exactly.
her
Yeah,
down.
I'm
So pretend we're not here.
walking
We're
away.
gonna- We're going to
Okay.
talk about our
All right.
conversation with you.
Well, that was fast.
That was very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your takeaway from the conversation with Des?
I was really frustrated that she couldn't remember her favorite Pulse recipe.
Well, it's your, you're
Same.
setting that up. I was going to say, no, tell me your favorite canola recipe.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
It's going to be a battle. Yeah, I'm agitated right now. I'm going to walk away and just let you close this podcast. All right. No. Okay. What was your takeaway?
I mean, I do like the conversations we're having about empathy and communications as kind of as heady as that stuff is, and as impractical as it may seem for an ag audience. I think we need to kind of keep talking about it. Like, I think we need to keep that, and mental health stuff. I think these are important issues that more people than we know, and that more people will be publicly comfortable sharing, deal with on a regular basis. Whether it's succession planning or just regular communications with peers, colleagues, whatever. I think that's a really, I think that's a thread we need to continue, and I appreciated that part of the conversation. Yeah.
Well,
the whole conversation.
My takeaways are I want to do that drumming thing again. There's something about just like that beat that kind of just gets gets your kind of settles your mind down and gets your brain thinking in different ways. And the writing, like I am so bad at routines. Like I couldn't do the same thing every day for even like 3 days in a row. So writing a journal every morning, I would have a hard time doing that, but I can definitely see the value in just like expressing what's in your head, getting it on paper, or even practicing the craft of writing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's.
You should try writing sometime, Jay.
I guess that's why I'm doing a podcast and not writing articles.
I guess so.
Anyway, we should wrap.
We should. It was a good.
We are the Extensionists. I'm Jay Whetter.
And I'm Toban Dyck.
Until next time.
Okay. Thank you. Oh yes.